Welcome to our in-depth question for today. We have a really interesting topic, which I know you're going to love, and it is no more yeses. So this session today and this class is about helping you to master the art of setting boundaries, which is really important in the coaching journey and actually just in life in general. So if you're not a coach and you're hanging out with us, then this will be perfect for you also. So today we are going to cover what blurs our boundaries, what are my boundaries, and what's the tips to master the art of setting your boundaries. So we have a resource attached for today. So if you would love that for the training, say yes to me in the comments below. If you're watching live, just comment below. If you're watching the replay, also hashtag replay. So today we're going to download for you, which can help you to get a better idea about your boundaries. So why are boundaries important to you as a coach? So essentially what we want to do is boundaries are like a important aspect of us for our coaching journey, is because as coaches, we want to primarily empower our clients. We want to help them unlock their potential, awaken something inside of them, help resolve something, and whatever the reason why you're coaching is. However, if we don't have clear boundaries of what that is for us and what's important for us, we can find that we can overextend ourselves and find ourselves in a burnout stage. I actually had that a couple of years ago where I'd said way too many yeses and not enough setting boundaries. And then that, burnout can be sometimes a little bit hard to come back from because it's kind of not noticing the signs and symptoms and then getting to the point where it takes a lot longer to recoup your energy again and come back again, or reprioritize really. We can also be less effective in the coaching session because what happens is when we have blurred boundaries and we don't have a lot of energy inside of us, it can be then difficult for us to be able to help someone because we're not in a space of being able to. It's kind of like a marathon runner who wants to go out and run a marathon, but they haven't had enough time to rest. And so it's like getting back in the zone again and then running another marathon, even though they're not feeling like their cup is full enough. And so we also then have the blurred boundaries, or the lack of boundaries affects our private life. I remember there was a big period of my life way back when I first started speaking and doing a lot of the breakthrough integration days for Global One. And I noticed that there's a big difference between my public life and my private life because the boundaries were blurred. That was then creeping into my public life or my private life, and then having difficulty in just having any energy for a lot of that because a lot of my energy and focus was in business and work, and there was a lot of blurred boundaries and not putting boundaries apart when I was off from work, for example. And I know we all have a love to serve. I mean, you're here, you're coaching, you have a love to serve. And so we do want to make sure that and in that love to serve, it can be really difficult sometimes to say no to people, especially when maybe they're struggling or they're having a difficult time. It can be sometimes no to say no to people. So what we want to be able to do is put some boundaries in place so we can manage us as well as serve people as well. So you're going to imagine boundaries as like this invisible line. So I just want you to imagine that your boundaries that are the invisible line, which is okay and not okay for you. And then you're like, hang on, Tanya, don't we do our emotional work so that whatever challenge you have, you can just go dissolve it and then you don't have an emotional charge and therefore have no boundaries? So I want you to see boundaries as something that's okay to have. Like, it's okay to say no for something that you don't want to do. It's okay to say on a Sunday that I'm not going to contact anyone, I'm not going to speak to anyone on that particular day. It's okay to say those things, and it's okay to have boundaries. And so, because it's okay to have boundaries if you had an employment, actually they've just passed a law here in Australia, which it's okay if you're not on your rostered shift and your boss messages you at 6 a.m. in the morning, it's okay to ignore them. I know they just passed a law for that team. And so we have boundaries there. We start at 9, finish at 5, or whatever the dynamic is. But in a coaching business, because it is your business and you're working in it, maybe you're a solopreneur or you're working with a team and you're having to work, there's more blurred boundaries, say, of time. So we want to put those times in because it includes boundaries around time, around your personal space, around communication, around, the relationship dynamic within coaching. So what blurs your relation? What blurs your boundaries? So what we want to do is we want to look at the external pressures first of all, because if we perceive that we have to show up and be available all the time, if there's a society's expectation that you ask a question from your coach and then you have to get a response within a short period of time, or you perceive that to be, if you perceive, and then we find ourselves overextending, so our perceptions of what we should and shouldn't do within the coaching dynamic as a coach is going to blur our boundaries. And so we're then going to put unrealistic expectations on ourselves of how we should show up and how we should behave. And that can affect our energy and our time and our life, and our boundaries can be blurred. And so actually what was really interesting, we had a session last night in our mindset class when we were applying the Demartini method. And we actually had this where one of the coaches that was talking about a coach that she wanted to do a session with just never got back to her a few times. And it was like, okay, great. And so we found actually that by the coach not saying yes to them, that this individual actually found a lot of blessings in the almost more pain and more suffering and more challenge, and became more aware of a deeper dynamic and issue, and then actually had more love and appreciation that it didn't happen. Actually felt like that was actually the perfect pathway for them to get the most growth that they needed, was the inaction from the coach, not the action. But we get sometimes more attached to, we've got to do things for our clients, but we sometimes forget that the inaction is actually also serving and helping them as well. So it was a super interesting session. And so we want to look at that. We also want to look at almost like our need or attachment to be there for our clients. Because if we have like a desperate need, or just a need to be with our clients and be there for them and serve them and help them, then we can almost be overgiving and lose a sense of self as well. And so when we do that, especially if we say we're going to do an hour session, it works out to be 2 hours session, and you haven't put parameters around that, and you've just given and given and given, you can feel like if there's not an idea around that, you can feel like there's a loss of self, for example. And so you want to know what are your boundaries, what are you okay with, and what are you not okay with. So what are your boundaries? So let's look at that. So you'll see you have a worksheet download. If you have hit download yes to me, if you're watching the live now, say yes to me and we'll get the download to you. But we have the download. And I just want you to imagine this circle. So I want you to imagine a circle, and we're going to have things that are okay with you, what's okay in the coaching dynamic, and what's not okay outside of the boundary. And so first of all, we want to be consciously aware of what's okay and what's not okay. You don't know, because we run a global business. Well, mine is, and I'm sure yours is as well, because we have clients all over the world and we connect with lots of people all over the world. My 5 p.m. is 6 or 7 a.m. in Europe, and also the middle of the night for someone in the US. And so what we want to do is, it's like, because you can be on all the time, and sometimes it can be 11 p.m. at night and someone's like just waking up, or it's just their day and there's something happening and they want to communicate with you. It's like, what are your boundaries around time, right inside the circle? What's not okay outside the circle? I didn't know, and for ages I would just work 7 days a week and just thought that was okay, and that was okay for a long period of time. But then it got to a point where I was like, you know what, I want to have one day where I'm going to put some boundaries around my one day, and my one day becomes like my me day, and something that I get to really truly like kind of fill my cup up and feel it full. And it's a boundary I put in. And if I choose to be and respond to someone on Sunday, I choose to do it. so it's out of a choice, not out of, not that I ever feel like it's an obligation, but it feels like I can have that time if I want it. So I've got boundaries. I also have another boundary in time that I like to do, which is every quarter, take 4 days off. Sometimes my boundary is a little bit blurred there sometimes because my 4 days turn into mostly 2 days. But it's an A for effort. And so I put some boundaries in place just so that I can recoup and re-energize. And I did notice, actually, if I go back to the time where I had the burnout and I had this really kind of, I had given and given and given, and it was a lot of extra things that are going on in my personal life as well, trying to figure out and work through, and then also extra work I was doing because of a team dynamic. And so because of that, there was a lot of extra pressure, and then I didn't have enough boundaries around my work dynamic, around my personal life, around my business, and around coaching and what I was expecting. And so because of that, there was this like big kind of amount of pressure and like being in a pressure cooker. And so, but once I came back to putting boundaries in place, huge difference, because then you have this dynamic where you feel like you can give so much more because you have a full cup. I think that's really important. So I want you to think and take some time. If you've got the download, I want you to think and take some time and establish some really clear boundaries of what's okay. Like, what are your needs? And it's okay to have needs. Like, what are your limitations and what is okay in the coaching dynamic? This might be different if you have a private client business and a group coaching business. Maybe they're two separate sheets that you want to look at, and have a look at your circle here with coaching private clients and versus coaching group clients. You might also consider doing this for family. This can also be really important sometimes for people, because if you feel like your boundaries get blurred and you're saying a lot of yeses to people in a particular area of life, you might want to also do this here. And so you're basically going to give yourself like a roadmap or a navigation pathway to say what you can say yes to and what you can say no to. I still remember to this day that one of my, I guess you would say he's a mentor of mine, had said to me, Tanya, your business is going to be determinant on what you say no to, not what you say yes to. It's really easy to say yes, 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 yes. But then in a way, if you keep on saying yes, what can happen is the outside world ends up directing your business and your clientele and your future as a coach, as opposed to being more selective to say, I'm going to say yes to some people that I feel like are really aligned or in the area I want to specialize in and work with, and say no to others. And so as we do that, as we say no to others, we also, if we apply the application of the Demartini method, which we do each and every week in our mindset classes, is that it gives you that opportunity to realize that every yes that you say, there's a no being said to something else. Every no that you say to someone else is saying yes. And so when we appreciate that really bigger dynamic, then you feel like you've got a little bit more freedom to say yes and no. So the other is, why do I not know my boundaries? Now, one of the things that is very clear when it comes to boundaries is you have to know yourself. If you have a sense of identity of who you are as an individual, then you can know what your needs are. You can know what your wants are. You can know what's okay and not okay. But when we do this kind of enmeshment, which is you think you've got the coach and the client, or you've got a partner and you, or you've got your parents and you, whatever the dynamic is, and then enmeshment is like there's no difference. Like there's no difference between you and them. It's kind of enmeshment. It's kind of just all like kind of molded into one. But what we want to do is we want to have just like that little bit of an overlap, which is more like not a codependent, but an interdependent relationship. And so that's what we also want to do within our life, because the more individuality we have, or sense of identity we have, the less enmeshment we have, and the more then we're able to say no, because we know our needs, we know what's important to us, and we're not going in and meshing with someone else. Another dynamic which also can play into part why we don't know our boundaries is because we're in the fawn response. So we've got fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. So when we go to fawn response, it's that people pleaser inside of us but it's excessive. It's not just like a little people pleasing, but it's excessive people pleasing. And so that's a learned behavior that we did in order to feel safe. And so in that dynamic, what you felt like when you were maybe growing up in your childhood and teen years, you're actually still doing it again as an adult, but as a coach. And so you're actually just still playing out that same dynamic and wanting to be liked and wanting to please other people. And because of that dynamic, which is just stuff that you need to work on in the past, that's all it is, you just got some work to do, that you then set yourself up to have blurred boundaries or a loss of identity and a loss of sense of self because you just want to make sure they're okay, but you've forgotten about you. And so that is also another great sign that if you've lost that sense of identity and you feel like you're doing more people-pleasing, fawning responses, and then we want to look at those dynamics to shift and clear that in order to get more clear about what your boundaries are. So I hope that you have gotten some value out of this, and in terms of one, discovering your boundaries, and that's okay to have boundaries, that we want to know what those boundaries are by putting them in the circle, knowing what we're okay with, what we're not okay with inside of the coaching journey and the coaching dynamic. Then we also maybe consider wanting to do a bit of a checklist, or, I know not everyone's checklist, but maybe a review every week or so, especially when you're trying to form solid boundaries and you don't know what they are. You want to be able to check in with yourself every week or every month. How am I going? Like, have I lost my sense of boundaries, or am I okay with it? And so, or am I living what other people want of me, or is this what I truly want of me? And so you can do it, you can kind of navigate and shift and morph to what you feel like is true and congruent for you. And yeah, we're going to have times where we're going to have our boundaries blurred again. And there's times where you're okay. I still remember one of my first times where someone asked me out on a date when we're in the middle of coaching. And I was just a little bit like, whoa, where did that come from? That was a bit of a blurred boundary that I didn't even know that was there until it was in my face. And I'm like, whoa. And so I had to really sit with it and figure out, well, how do I navigate through this? So sometimes you're going to have moments that you're going to have to kind of figure out, okay, well, this is a boundary that just got crossed and I didn't even know that it was not okay. And so now what do I have to do to navigate through this? And so sometimes it's a learning journey through your boundaries. And then sometimes it's like, no, I'm clear and set. This is exactly what I want and need for now. It's okay for your boundaries to also change as well. Hopefully you found this interesting, insightful. Thank you so much for being here and showing up. If you do have any thoughts, insights, just hit below the comments and we would love to hear from you. So thank you so much, and I hope you have a beautiful day wherever you are in the world.